Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm back to talk about the 100, episode 608, titled The Old Man and the Anomaly, which premiered Tuesday, June 25th, 2019 on the CW. It is 11:30 p.m., so it's roughly an hour and a half since the episode is aired. So huge spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the episode already, please go do so first, and then come back and see what I have to say about the episode. My other video reminders are up on screen. Take a moment to remind yourselves of those. Quick YouTube shout out once again to Mr. Legendary AO for your continuous contributions to the comment section and expanding my understanding of what happens and really get me to think and reaffirm my take on things or to see things differently. I really appreciate those moments. I did see a recent one on my 607 video, which I will reply to shortly after posting this video. So I'm going to try to do this in 20 minutes. So let's start the clock. Let's begin with what happened in this episode. So timeline-wise, I'm going to say it continues from 607 because it's the same day that Bellamy finds out that Clarke is alive through Morse code. And it's the same day that Russell finds out from Josephine that her body is deteriorating a lot faster than they thought. We also see in this episode that from his analysis, he gives Clarke's body 36 hours left if they don't find a way to have only one consciousness inside the body. Now, to truly, because of something that was mentioned in Mr. Legendary AO's comment, I just want to do a clear the air for the timeline pretty much. So here's how I see it. And I'm going to try to do it in days of the week to help understand us better of what's going on. So I'm putting that whole naming day party that Clarke attended in 604. Let's call that Saturday night. So she sleeps with Killian, what have you, and she's quote unquote murdered by Russell and Simone, and Josephine is put into her body. So that's Saturday night. Then we see Sunday morning is when we get Josephine and Clarke's body dancing in her room painting, and that's 605. So this is her first day of trying to be Clarke. So by the end of 605, this is where she reveals to Murphy that she's not Clarke, she's actually Josephine. Okay, so that's the end of Sunday. So then we go to Monday, and this is where 606 starts off, and that's where we get Josephine trying to keep Murphy awake because he spent the whole night trying to give her the Clarke 101 lesson, right? And this is the episode where we see Josephine trying to be Clarke to further convince Abby to make more Nightbloods. So by the end of 606, this is where we see Josephine actually going to sleep for the first time. And this is where we see Clarke waking up because this is the first time her body's asleep. So that's the end of 606. So think of 607 being the duration of Monday night going into Tuesday. And then when at the end of 607, where we get the whole Morse code moment, that is Tuesday morning. And then the 608 is like later on in the Tuesday. So essentially, it's pretty much from 604 to 608, it's the duration of 4 days, if you think of it in the weeks. So that's a little something there. I know that in Mr. Legendary AO, if I remembered correctly from the comment in 607, talked about how in 607, while it was Clarke-centric, it would have been nice to see other characters. But timeline-wise, it wouldn't make sense because during that duration of 607, every other character is meant to be asleep. So it wouldn't make sense to see what they're doing if they're just lying in bed, right? So I just wanted to clear that up. It's also kind of fun to figure out date-wise how things are going, because then it also shows just how fast-paced our characters have to deal with everything. For us, it's been a week in between, but for them, it's like the next day. So it's always interesting to think that way as well. I like doing calendar views if you haven't gathered already. But anyways, let's move on. Episode reminder, I'm going to say it's racing to save Clarke from Josephine, or saving Clarke's body, essentially. Which side you're on is up in the air, but we do see both sides trying to race against that clock. Episode objective, we do see the ejecting of one mind inside Clarke's body, and then we have creating the Nightblood. So it's many different things happening in this episode, which leads me to my storyline breakdowns, which essentially is kind of 3 to 4 different storylines. First storyline being the Anomaly Adventures, second storyline being creating Nightblood host, and the third one being Clarke Verse Josephine, or saving Clarke's body. So the first storyline with the Anomaly Adventures, we get Xavier, Octavia, and Diosef featured in this portion. We find out that radio signals can't really enter the anomaly. They all just get collected and they just disperse there. We also find out that within the anomaly, you do get the whole red sun eclipse effects happening, but on a more constant level and different. Like instead of getting aggressive, you get more hallucinations from the looks of it. And during this trip, we do see Josephine hallucination, Bellamy hallucinations, and hallucinations of Dios's future daughter. So there's that. We also see this green mist fog, which actually appeared in the title card. And we find out that no one has returned once they entered into that fog. So we see Dioza entering, we see Octavia entering, but we also see Octavia returning, being the first known person, and she's completely healed from what was ailing her with the whole fossilization of her body. So there's that. It also reveals something very major that came from the storyline in a brief moment. So we'll get right into that later. Secretory Line was creating Nightblood Host. This takes place in space on the Legis 3 ship. And this is where we see them taking a Sanctum native named Gavin and turning him into Kane's new host. So this is where we get arguments between Raven and Abby about what is right and what is wrong in this situation. Although it's kind of taken out of their hands when Simone immediately kills Gavin, so that they had no choice to continue with the procedure. Otherwise, they would have killed Gavin for nothing. But in the end, Simone gets her Nightblood serum, and Kane awakens in his new body that was once Gavin. So there is that. And the third storyline, which I'm kind of putting it as part A and part B, because this is the Clarke Verse Josephine part. So in one part, we get Josephine recruiting Riker to get him to help her expel Clarke from her new body, and this is where they create the EMP device. And then the second part of it is all our characters from Earth trying to find a way to save Clarke from Josephine's attempt to completely expel her. And with this one, we get Bellamy escaping into the Children of Gabriel territory, so that's outside the radiation field, with Josephine in search of Gabriel, so he could do the procedure to take out the mind drive and save Clarke. So it's just Bellamy going along with it, and he has Clarke's body chained up because Josephine's still in control. So there's that. The last moments of the episode showed Kane waking up in his new body, in Gavin's body, which is now being played or portrayed by Greyston Holt, who I remember as Clay from the TV show Bitten as well. So it'll be very interesting to see his take on Kane and just how well he's able to mimic Henry Ian Cusick's portrayal of Kane for the last 5 seasons. I don't know how to feel about that, but we'll get into that later. But character-wise, let's move into that quickly. We do see Maddie. She's still plagued by the Dark Commander hallucination, though it seems that now she's plagued while she's awake. It's not just in her dreams, and she can see him when others can't, which makes sense. But she seems to be more aggressive about it. I don't know if it's because of his stronger control over her, or if it's because of the situation that now she's dealing with Clarke being in the situation that she's in. So there's that. For Xavier, the character, we do find a lot about him. First off, that he is actually Gabriel, the current vessel of Gabriel. And we do find out through him that Gabriel actually left the Prime 70 years ago. So and he's led everyone to believe that he abandoned everyone. So even Josephine believes that Gabriel is either really, really old or he's dead. So she doesn't know that he's in a new vessel. And we find out that Gabriel wanted to stop being a false god. So he, because he left the Primes, there's no one else who knew how to take the mind drive out. So he trained someone to do it, but instead they refused to do what he asked. And instead, when Xavier, the real Xavier, was born, they turned him into a host and put Gabriel's mind drive into him after he was born. So an unwilling resurrection, if you will. And because of that, he killed Eduardo, who he had trained to deal with the mind drive. And he took on the facade of Xavier, leaving everyone to believe that he was actually Xavier and not Gabriel. So that's why everyone believes that he's the old man has abandoned everybody. So there's that. With Josephine, we do see her blackmailing and threatening many people to get her way. Even with Riker, she reveals that he's the one that let Gabriel go years ago, and apparently she only knows about it. So there's that. In this episode, we do see Priya in Delilah's body returning and being made aware of the fact that Josephine has returned and that Russell had jumped the line because he brought Josephine back before her time. Makes me wonder who was supposed to be after Priya, since her son was already brought back. So it'll be interesting. But it looked like her and Riker, her son, were not pleased with how things were dealt with. So, and they seem very different in comparison to how Russell, Simone, and Josephine react or behave about the whole Prime issue. Josephine seems like to be like the very extreme scale of things, and Riker's on the opposite when it comes to the whole idea of the primes, and then everyone else just falls in the middle of it. Simone's probably after her daughter, and then it's her father, and then probably Priya afterwards. But anyways, but let's move on to tidbits very quickly. We do see Murphy kind of using the mind drives as a way to propose to Amore, as kind of like, do you see yourself loving me forever type of thing? Very similar to a proposal setup with the way he was like phrasing things and stuff. So that was something. Also, we do see Maddie murdering Miranda, one of the primes, and her lover. I think it was just a normal guy. I don't know if he was in another prime that she ended up killing. But the way Maddie did it was stabbing her through the throat in a way that it looked like she also stabbed her through the mind drive. So there's no way to retrieve and recover Miranda's essence from the mind drive. So there's that. We also see Maddie attempt to kill Priya in the exact same fashion as Miranda, but instead she stabs Jordan when he steps in to try to save Priya. And that moment truly messed me up. I was almost brought to tears at the very idea that Jordan could be killed off. Like, no, I don't need that. I already suffered from Monty being killed. I don't need to see his son going through the same fate just yet when we were just starting to learn about him. And it also seemed like Maddie was kind of in a trance until she stabbed Jordan, and then she looked down and like was mortified at the fact that she hurt him in that way. So I'm wondering if like it was actually Maddie in control during her whole pursuit, or if it was the Dark Commander instead. I don't know, but that's something to take note about. Also, because of this, we see Jordan, Jackson, and Maddie being captured by the people of Sanctum in height of her attacking the primes. We also see Amore and Murphy being captured later on as well, and Murphy is dealing with a massive, I think Josephine slit an artery in his leg, but he's dealing with that. So we see them being captured as well and being locked up, and they're keeping quiet about everybody else who's or all their other friends who's trying to get Josephine out of Clarke. So there's that. We have no idea about the whereabouts of Miller or Echo or Guy, since she was banished from Maddie in the previous episode, but she didn't feature at all in the episode. So not sure if she like truly has left the radiation barrier, or if she's like just somewhere in the village, or if she's like not a threat anywhere, or if she's in hiding. Echo, I'm left to believe that she's left in hiding, and I believe Miller is too, because I don't know if he went back with Jackson inside. At one point I thought they split up, but anyways, there's that. But let's move on to ship status very quickly. We did see determination from Bellamy to find a way to get Clarke back. He had a massive plan set up, had to get sped up because of Amore's warning of the fact that they were currently in the process of trying to get Clarke out of Josephine. So there's that. We do see a lot more of a dynamic between Deoza and Octavia, and I gotta say, I'm loving them. I didn't think I would, but I'll get more into that later. But their dynamic is very interesting, especially when Octavia's health is deteriorating so quickly. So there's that. With Murphy and Amore, we do get the proposal-like display with the mind drives happening between them. So there's that. With Raven and Abby, we do get the tensions with their arguments over the creation of new primes and what's murder and what's sacrifice type of thing. And then we also kind of get a comparison with Raven saying, I couldn't save my mom, but I could save you, when she was talking to Abby. So there's that. And then also we get the reunion between Kane and Abby. She seems to be fine with her actions, saying that he might not like the idea of her sacrificing someone to bring him back, but she doesn't care as long as he gets to live type of thing. And I guess we'll see his reaction to what she actually did to save him. And I think he's going to hold a lot of guilt over that, because Gavin was killed, even though he viewed it as the highest honor, he was killed to bring some unknown back. So it's just, yeah, there's that. But anyways, let's move on to most shocking moment of the episode. I will say the most shocking thing was the fact that Deoza figured out that Xavier was actually Gabriel and not just the messenger. He was actually the guy that was leading the whole thing, which I was surprised about, like, for sure. I truly was expecting an old man vessel, for sure. I mean, everything in the title is like definitely a misdirect right there. So that was something. And another shocker was the fact that Maddie stabbed Jordan. That was like on the verge of tears almost, but like that was like a wow, I can't believe that happened type of thing. If anything, I thought he would tackle her. I should have suspected that the knife would end up in him somehow, because he's definitely not skilled in fighting. So I'm assuming that anyways, but there's that. But let's move on to top 3 favorite moments. Again, first one, like I did mention in the ships, was the fact that Diosa's concern for Octavia. They did have many moments together when Octavia was losing her mind because the brain deterioration was slowly like seeping in, and Diosa was trying to reel Octavia back, and then Octavia was bringing the 2 serpents, 1 garden type of in reference to their conversation in the season 5 finale before they went to cryo. And then just Diosa's reacting to it was just like, that was something. Also the fact that they're compared to like finishing each other's sentences as being like an old married couple, and then also their concern for each other when one was like losing a little bit of themselves in the hallucination, the other one was trying to reel each other back. It was just like, I wasn't expecting these two because of how so far against each other they were in the previous season, and then to have them working together and build this type of thing. Also the fact that technically it's what, 4 or 5 days for them. It's just like, it's very interesting to see their dynamic grow, and it's definitely one of my favorites specifically in this episode, just to see how they'll put things aside to help each other out and be on the same page. And I can't wait to see what happens next for sure for them. So that is something there. Maybe they could both find a redemption with each other's help. Maybe. I don't know. That would be cool. Another favorite was the fact that Amore sided with Bellamy when it came to if she was going to be on the side of helping Josephine or not, because it seemed like Murphy was dead set on the immortality route, and then Amore, while she was intrigued by the idea, when it came time for her to actually have the opportunity to tell Bellamy that Clarke was alive or not, I was so glad she took it. She even paused and showed that hesitance of like, well, am I doing this or not? And it was just like, I love that she ended up, I love that she ended up making that choice to tell Bellamy. 2, I love that she wasn't angry by the fact that he didn't tell her because of her association with Murphy, knowing the fact that because of her kind of her allegiance with him, that like they wouldn't know where she would truly side on the situation. And then I appreciate that she didn't get mad about it. Instead, she was more focused on the fact like, this is what's happening. You need to hurry up if you want to save Clarke type of thing. So I do appreciate that instead of getting very emotional and kind of charging for it, so like, why didn't you trust me? Like, why'd you leave me out type of thing, and like storming off like any other teenage drama would do to stir up tension. I love that she was level-headed to the fact like realizing just in that brief span, he didn't even have to say anything, just his reaction or lack of any words towards her, and she could figure out like, you already knew, why didn't you tell me? And then he's like, it was because of John. And he was just like, we didn't know where you would stand. And then she was like, okay, she understands. It's like, well, if you have a plan, you need to do it now type of thing. So I really like Amore and the fact that she sided with them about it. And like, even though there is some beef with Clarke, I think on some level she realized that Clarke has saved her on a number of occasions. I mean, she did take the Nightblood serum when everyone wanted to sacrifice Amore instead, and Clarke sacrificed herself as the test subject. So it's like, at least I feel like in some way maybe Amore kind of still holds that part of it like as a favor into Clarke, if that makes sense. So that's something there. And another favorite I did have was the fact that Riker and Priya's disapproval of Russell's actions with Josephine and bringing her back with Clarke's body. I love that not only do we see Riker's side of not liking the whole idea of what the Primes are doing resurrection-wise, but I like that both Mother and Said disapprove of the fact that they took the choice away from Clarke and not only jumped the succession of which Prime was meant to be resurrected next. I'm hoping that they will side with our Earthborn characters in the future. I hope that they'll see an error in the Lightborn's way of doing things. If anything, I hope that Riker and Priya are able to maybe continue forward with the mind drives, maybe take the Lightborn's mind drives out of it. For sure. You definitely have to take away all 3 of them, because if you only have one of them surviving, they're going to do everything they can to get the other 2 back type of thing. So I'm definitely going to be interested to see something there as well. And also, moving on to another favorite, or it's a bonus favorite, I just like the fact that they've built up the next episode to being Bellamy trying to get Josephine to Gabriel so that he can save Clarke, which is pretty much setting up the fact that we're going to get some Bellamy Clarke scenes, hopefully, even though it's going to be Josephine in charge for now. But that's a lot of potential, a lot of video making potential for people out there who like the Bell Arc videos. But I'm just waiting for that setup, and I can't wait to see what the next episode has in store for them. So there's that. But let's move on to top 3 peeve moments. One peeve I did have with the fact is that with an episode titled The Old Man and the Anomaly, I thought I would get an emphasis in this episode on that story point. The fact that we're going to get more about Gabriel, more of what the anomaly is and what it entails and stuff. But it seemed like only a quarter of the episode was based around that storyline. I felt like a lot more of the episode was focused on the whole situation with the primes. And I was a little, like, the title is a little misleading in that fact that it wasn't a major focus, if that makes sense. And there's the timer. Small little, I put the volume down. But another peeve was the fact that Henry Ian Cusick isn't going to be Marcus Kane anymore. We now have Greyston Holt. I'm interested to see what he brings to Kane and how he's able to mimic what Henry has done in his role as Kane for the last 5 years, but I am sad that he's not playing Kane anymore, right? So it's just like, but the fact that he's now in a new body will definitely bring a whole slew of storylines over his reaction to not only having his new body sacrifice himself so he could live, the whole survivor's guilt thing, and then trying to deal with Abby making that choice to have someone die in order for him to live. So it's just like the playing God when you're not supposed to type of thing. So very interesting to see where Kane goes. I'm just going to miss Henry Cusick being Kane. So there's that. But let's move on to random questions very quickly. First one, why did Gabriel need someone to extract his mind drive after he died if he had not planned to be inserted into another host? I can see if that's an issue if he wanted to continue the whole resurrection process. But if he had no plan to continue and he wanted to stop the cycle, why did he need to train someone like Eduardo or anyone really to do the process? Because isn't that just setting itself up for them to continue the cycle when you're trying to not continue it? Like, that's what I didn't get. It's like, I was just like, if I was Gabriel and I didn't want someone to bring me back again, I would just not tell them how to bring me back again. Right? Like, that didn't make sense. So that's one there. Another question is that, or I guess it's more of a statement mixed with a question, is that I still don't understand how Clarke has the neural mesh in her mind that's keeping her consciousness still intact inside her body if she no longer has the flame inside of her, since Maddie has the flame. Because look, at first, I truly thought about this for the last week. And I first thought, after trying to figure out like how it was possible, I thought maybe Clarke had one of the City of Light chips, that she had taken one of those, that everyone else had done so in season 3, like Raven had. And then that's how she got to the City of Light. But then I checked back, and Clarke did have the commander's flame chip in her temporarily to connect to the City of Light. So because it was the flame, and it's fully intact to still be used in Maddie, who now holds the flame, I don't get how Clarke can still technically have the neural mesh if the flame was never damaged to begin with. So why would it be still embedded in Clarke if it's still fully functional in Maddie right now? That's what I don't understand. Now, if Clarke had taken one of the City of Light chips that Raven or her mom had taken, then okay, I could see how maybe having it still inside of her, or maybe having the damaged parts of it still inside of her, keeping her alive, would make sense, because like she still has it physically inside of her. But for it to be the flame and Maddie having it fully intact in herself, I don't get how that is affecting Clarke. I can understand if Maddie had the flame and like Clarke's consciousness is appearing in Maddie's body through the flame, but I don't how Clarke's consciousness without the flame is still possible in her body, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense, because I really want an answer and to understand this, because I just can't fathom the idea of, while I want Clarke to be alive, I can't fathom her still being possible in her body with her mind still intact if there's not an actual physical chip inside of her already, or remnants of that chip, when we all know, and I confirmed, that it was the flame that she had used to tap into the City of Lights, and that flame is intact in Maddie. Like, there shouldn't be any remnants of her neural mesh inside Clarke, from my understanding of how the flame and, like, the passing of it works. Because, like, yeah. And then I can understand that Maddie sees parts of Clarke's consciousness through the flame. I can understand that part because it's traveled with the flame and she had connected with it temporarily. But I don't get how Clarke can still have access to that flame in her body if she doesn't have any ounce of the actual physical chip in her. Please, someone have an answer, because this is just really wrapping my head. It's seriously like the whole Savitar paradox loop that happened in season 3 of The Flash. Like, I was trying to figure out how he was possible when he was time traveling. It's just like crazy. But I'm like in that loop right now, trying to figure out how things are working. And really, it kind of sucks, because if you don't have a true understanding of something, it could easily take you out of the story and not fully, like, immerse yourselves into it. Like, even the nitty-gritty stuff like this can easily take me out of it, because I'm left really like, well, how's that possible? How's that, like, it has me questioning things, and it's just like, that's not the whole point. But it happens, because I'm technical like that, even though it's science fiction. But anyways, let's move on to the next question. Is Abby still in the dark about Clarke's situation? I mean, is Raven aware at this point about what's happening with Clarke, the fact that Josephine possessed her? Or is it just that she knows how the primes are created, but she doesn't know the fact that Clarke has been taken over by a prime? Because if Raven doesn't know, then I can understand why Abby wouldn't know. Because I would think if Raven knew when she's on that ship, then I would suspect her to tell Abby while they're on that ship. But if Raven doesn't know what's happening with Clarke, then I can understand why Abby doesn't know. Because, like, they're both in space and not in contact with the Earthborn characters on the ground. So I can understand that. But it really is dependent on whether or not Raven is aware that Josephine has taken control over Clarke. But I'm still a little pissed off that Abby has no idea that that's even an issue. But I guess she kind of slightly understands, since she has to do the whole Nightblood situation with Kane. But yeah, I'm sorry. I have issues with Abby. So it's just like, she is going to have to do a lot in order for me to see her in my good graces again. So there's that. But let's move on to predictions very quickly. Based off the promo for 609, it is returning July 9th. So we're going to get another week hiatus before the episodes return for the final episodes. Final 4 episodes. Yeah, no, final 5 episodes. So a week break, then it's the last 5 episodes of the season. But anyways, the promo shows Bellamy promising to save Clarke, though it's Josephine he's talking to because of her mannerisms from the promo from what I saw. Or I guess that's my impression of it. But then we also see Octavia going up against Blood Reina, and it looks like it's in the arena. So it's possible that whatever happened to her in that anomaly green fog mist thing, maybe that's bringing her back to this hallucination thing. We'll have to wait and see about that. But I'm so excited to see that the doppelganger fight happening there. So that'll be pretty cool. But the synopsis for the episode reads that Bellamy must venture into enemy territory with an unlikely companion. So Bellamy and Josephine. And then meanwhile, Octavia is forced to confront her past, which is Blood Reina. I'm very interested to see if, like, a lot of the characters are going to have to do something like this, because 607 was pretty much Clarke having to confront her past. Now Octavia is going to be doing it in the next episode. I'm wondering if any of our other major characters are going to have to go through that too. It'll be interesting to see how that happens as well. Also, another thing I just pointed out, which was really interesting, was the fact that a lot of the thumbnails I kept seeing for this 608 showed Skybox Clarke holding a gun, but yet I don't remember seeing any of that in the episode, unless it was in a quick flash that I just missed, but I don't remember seeing her in that position or in that setting this episode. So I'm wondering if it was a misplaced thumbnail that's meant for another episode, or if it was meant for 607, or if it was a deleted scene and we just never got to see it. So that's something to take notice there. But otherwise, guys, that is pretty much it. What did you guys think of the episode? What did you guys like about it? What do you think will happen next? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, theories, and opinions about what you will think will happen next. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. The link for that is down below. I reblog promos, web clips, quotes, gifs, synopses, news, all the good stuff, all found in one place. Go check that out. A little more organized. Or I still got to update a lot. So maybe I'll take the week that we have the hiatus to do a bit more of that. But yeah, WordPress, a little more organized, a little more detailed. The link for that is down below. I do have to update that as well. And it's now it's trickier. What do I call Xavier? Do I say Gabriel the what, the 7th, or is it still Xavier? I don't know what to call him now in my tags. So that's something I got to think about as well. But otherwise, that is pretty much it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your patience. I didn't get to say it in my previous episode, but this video right here will mark my 601 video that I've posted, if I counted correctly. So that's pretty cool. So thank you guys so much if you're tuning in as a brand new subscriber, or if you've been with me over the past few years. Thank you so much. I hope you continue to come back to check out what I have to say. It means a lot to me just to get any of your feedback, or even get your own thoughts in the comments, and to just build up that rapport and just to have that conversation. It truly, guys, it makes a difference when you can actually talk to someone who understands what you're talking about and give like true feedback and perspective about what you're talking about and what they're talking about, and actually have a conversation about it. And it means a lot, because it definitely shows that it's someone else that cares about something that you care about. And whether it's about this TV show, or it's about your favorite books, or it's about even your favorite subject in school, or whatever it is in real life, you can tell it truly makes a difference when you're able to have that interaction with another person on the same wavelength, if that makes sense. So doing these videos and just me starting the conversation this way is great, but to have you guys returning it back in the comments, it does make a difference. I will say that, so I do appreciate if you do take the time to do so. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But otherwise, I'm going to stop talking. It's midnight now for me. So again, thank you so much. I hope you come back 2 weeks to see what I have to say about 609. But until then, guys, this is Mel. Wish you all a great day, great week wherever you are, depending on where you are in the world. If you're in Canada, it's going to be a long weekend this week. And so happy Canada Day. For anyone in the States, I know it is on Thursday next week. So happy 4th of July as well. But yeah, so that's it, guys. Take care. Bye.